What is up, restaurant and bakery owners? I am here with Rory Balkin from DonutDigest.com. She's here talking about some best strategies for a topic that I need to learn more about, which is Google. It's not called Google My Business anymore.
That's
What
right.
is it
Google
called? Tell me about it,
Business
Rory.
Profiles. Google Business Profiles.
Okay.
So some of your listeners and viewers might be familiar with Google My Business. That's what they used to call it. It's Google Business Profiles right now, and really excited to talk about this as a way to get found faster online.
Tell us about why is it important? Why should bakeries and restaurant owners care?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a bakery marketing coach. So a lot of my examples are with bakeries and donut shops, but essentially your Google Business Profile, it's a free listing that Google allows you to set up. And you can manage your profile and your information, not just across Google search, but it affects Google Maps and reviews as well. So think of it as a modern day Yellow Pages, right? If you remember that big yellow book,
Okay.
at least I do. I'm a millennial, so that was my Friday night experience opening up the Yellow Pages. But this is something that you could keep up to date because it's digital. And these days, it's often the first impression of your restaurant, whether it's a bakery, a pizza shop, when it comes to local searchers. And so how you fill out your Google Business Profile is going to really impact how you rank locally. And there's a few different ways that you might rank and show up in the search results. So I love to pull up my screen here and show some visuals. There's a really interesting study that's done every year. It's called the Local Search Ranking Factors Report. And this report used to be developed by a guy in the search engine optimization world named David Mim. I think he began it in 2008. He handed it over to a guy named Darren Shaw from Whitespark, as you can see here. And so Google is very secretive about what their algorithm is all about, what makes you rank higher than others, whether you're a local organization, business, or national, right? And so what this report shows is all the top people in search engine optimization are interviewed every year. And based on their expertise, they give their assumptions and opinions on what impacts how you rank. Okay. So for a local restaurant owner who might not have any idea what this means, there's, as I mentioned, a few different ways that you can show up in search results. If someone is searching for either your name in a branded way, but most likely searchers are going to be looking unbranded by category. They might know that they want the best donuts near me, the best pizza in Dallas, but they don't know the brand yet. Okay. So here's a quick visual of what this all means. So the local pack, these are 3 results that Google will show at the very top of a local search, especially when it comes to local restaurants. If someone clicks to find out more information, there's usually a button down here. It will take them to what's called the local finder, where they have access to 5, 7, 10 results that you can then dig into and get into their profiles. This is kind of like a preview here of their profiles. And then below that is what's called the local organic search results. So when it comes to the top local ranking factors, I look a lot to the local pack because that is what's showing up at the top. That's that visual map that people are usually clicking into, whether it's on their desktop or on their phone. And so if you could see the very top thing here, 32% Google Business Profile signals has an impact on how you rank. So that's what we'll get into a little bit now. But I will say search engine optimization is very, very complex, and a Google Business Profile is a great entryway into the world of local search engine optimization. Generally speaking, though, there are 3 factors when it comes to how you show up in the search results. And those factors are called relevance, distance, and prominence. Relevance is how well does your business match the searcher's query? How relevant are you to what they're asking for, right? And filling out your Google profile has an impact on that, whatever else is on your website in the web. Distance is not really something you can control. It's where are you located, right? But you want to make sure that's listed consistently across the web as well. And then prominence, that's essentially how popular are you? How much are people talking about you online? How well known are you? And there are some things you can do to affect that. So I hope that gives a little bit of a background on what the profile is, why it's important, and how it impacts local search ranking factors. I have a more thorough guide on my website, and we'll link to that in the description below. That actually lists 10 ways that you can optimize your business profile listing. But if you were to boil it down to the top 3, like how can you fill out your Google business profile generally so that you have the best shot at showing up higher in search results? The first is you want to claim your profile and verify it. And that sounds like obvious, right? Like, well, duh. But 56% of business owners have never claimed their profile yet. But that doesn't stop Google from creating a profile for you. And so what ends up happening in those cases is there's a lot of misinformation because they will accept information from users, from searchers. Someone might say, you're open at these hours when you're really not. They might put in an old address for you. And so you really want to take control of that information by claiming and verifying your profile, right? So that's number one.
How do you do that?
So you could literally just Google how to claim your profile, not to get too meta.
Okay.
But there's a simple process for how to do that. And typically to verify, they're going to send you a postcard in the mail with a code so that they know you are who you say you are. And then in some cases, they'll allow you to do a video verification, but I believe that's more so for what's called a service area business where you don't necessarily have a physical location. You're going out to. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Number 1, great tip.
Yep. And then number 2 is you want to fill out your profile completely because those impact those Google Business Profile signals. Okay. So what this means essentially is filling out your NAP, your name, address, and phone number. Okay, very important, has to be accurate, has to match what you have on your website and wherever else your NAP information is listed across the web. Consistency is very important to Google. You want to fill out all the attributes possible. It's things like you're linking to your website. Are you a woman-owned business? There's all these little attributes and fields that Google allows you to fill out. So you want to fill out everything if possible, or as much as you can. And then you're going to want to include your menu and photos and videos. Okay. Now, one other kind of underrated section within the profile is your primary category, but that has a huge impact on what specific features are available to you. If you list yourself as, say you're a donut shop, right? But you list yourself primarily as a breakfast restaurant. You're not going to show up as well if someone's searching for best cinnamon rolls near me, even if you have cinnamon rolls on the menu or donuts, on the menu, and that's your best seller, because you're categorizing yourself in a way that it's not as relevant, right? For Google's not going to match the two together as well. Now, you can have more than one category, and in fact, it's encouraged to have more than one category listed on your profile, but the primary is super important. And the interesting thing is you can technically change your categories if you are a seasonal business. This might not be as relevant for the food industry, but I know in the HVAC industry, right? In the winter, it's heating, and in the summer it's cooling. So you can change your primary category if it makes sense for your business, depending on what time of year it is. Like Christmas lights is another category too that people will change. And so depending on what you pick for your primary category, Google will then determine what different features and sections of your profile you have access to. Mm-hmm. So that would be number 2, filling out your profile completely. And then the third is responding to reviews. And this is something that's often overlooked by business owners because they're busy. You're busy on, the operations and not necessarily behind your keyboard all day. But reviews are actually one of the top conversion factors. And what that means is people are not just kind of searching for you online, they're turning from viewers into customers. And so if you're looking at not just the star rating, but the content of the reviews, super important, encouraging people to constantly leave reviews and show them that you're active, and care about the community by responding to the reviews, whether they're positive or negative, doesn't matter.
That is a great point. Let me drill down on that negative. Restaurant owners ask me all the time, what do I do if I get like a nasty review? Do I respond to it? Do I not? What's best practices?
Always respond. Yep. And there are some nasty people out there. There are some people who leave fake reviews. There are people who leave unwarranted reviews, but there are also people who leave legitimate negative experiences, and you have to acknowledge it. Even if it's a bogus review, there are ways you can flag reviews, tell Google, hey, I think this one's fake. But based on how Google operates, most likely they will not take it down for you, even if you have the evidence to say, this person never even came to my restaurant. They don't care. They have other things to focus on. So you should flag a review if it's not legitimate, but still legitimate or not, reply to them, acknowledge the person, thanking them for their time to leave the review. And then talk about ways you're going to address that, whether it's a staff training issue, whether it's a quality issue. I mean, so many things have happened over the course of the past few years with COVID, where customers just don't understand, why is my food more expensive now? There's supply chain issues. There's things they might not get unless you're explaining that. But really, when you're replying to a negative review, the mindset shouldn't be, I'm trying to win back this customer. It's more so about showing other people who are stumbling upon your profile and reading through the reviews. They're either going to read the most positive or the most negative. They want to see how you respond, to show how much you care and what you're doing or not doing about complaints.
That is so true. It's a huge conversion factor for me. I know when I'm looking up like new restaurants, I will look at reviews. And I think it makes a big difference if there are negative Nancy reviews that have been responded, by the owner and like offering to make it right. Like, I'm so sorry, we had a crazy night or whatever. Please reach out to us. We'll make it right. I think that just is makes a huge difference. So I really appreciate you sharing that. So
yeah, it's funny because now that a lot of first impressions have shifted to your online storefront, whether it's your website or the Google business profile, TikTok, however someone might find you first. I think a lot of business owners have failed to shift their hospitality approach to a digital channel, because if someone were to walk up to you, if you were the manager or the operator of a local donut shop, right? Someone came up to you and said, there's a hair in my donut. You wouldn't just stare at them or walk away, right? Like you would address it. And so we want to do that online as well. But we do have to be a little more careful with our words, unfortunately, in the sense that it is a digital fingerprint, so to speak, that other people can always view.
Love it. I love it. So we've talked about what they should include on their profile, why it's important. I love that what you said. Was it NAP? Name, address,
phone number.
Phone number. That's right. NAP. I love that acronym. That's very good. We talked about 3 things. What, if people are wanting to get started, they're like, okay, I need to get going with this. What should they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So first you got to claim your profile, right? Yep. And like I said, there's easy ways to just search for that online. So claim it, fill it out. And I have a guide that there's a link in the description here that will help you get started. But keep in mind too that Google is only one of many online listing platforms. It's probably the most prominent these days, but things are shifting. So you want to start with Google, but once you've filled out that profile, you'll want to go down a similar path for other listings. And when it comes to the food and beverage industry, that's going to include Apple Maps. Apple Maps has their own system, and it's called Apple Business Connect. And so up until last year, I believe, they just scraped data from Yelp, which I know local business owners have very strong opinions about Yelp, right? So if you had a lot of negative reviews on your Yelp profile, that was being reflected within the Apple Maps platform. But now you have more control over Apple Maps. So you're going to want to claim and fill out your profile there as well. And then there is Yelp, of course, OpenTable if you do accept reservations. Not the case for a lot of my clients who are in the breakfast and quick service and baked goods space.
Yep.
And TripAdvisor too. So take care of all of those. Right now, when it comes to some mistakes that a lot of local restaurant owners make, they'll go through that exercise and they'll think, okay, I've done it. I've claimed my profiles. I filled them out. Check mark. Right. It's actually not one of those set it and forget it exercises, unfortunately. So you do have to keep your profiles up to date because it's another signal to Google or Bing or, whatever platform you're working with that you are an active business owner and that you care about keeping your presence up to date. So when you have menu changes, you want to also look behind the scenes and see if there's new features available. Most recently, Google Business Profiles allowed you to add your social media links and profiles. Before, a couple months ago, it was a crapshoot on whether or not they would pull your social media profile into your Google Business Profile. And there was a lot of these hacks that people would tell you about, but you need to constantly be looking, editing your profile and seeing what's available to you. And then there's something called an update. That's kind of like a post. It's not quite social media, but Google allows you to create updates. So if you have something going on in your business, you want to keep that going. You want to constantly add photos and videos.
Okay.
And
so talk about that, because I don't do that with the restaurants. We should be posting photos to Google.
Oh yeah. So it's something you could put on your calendar as a reminder, at least once a month, I would say. But if you get into a good habit and you stay on top of creating the content, then, you could do it once a week. And it used to be only photos that you could upload, but now with the emphasis on video, that actually allows you to stand out a lot more in your profile. And so when it comes to media on your Google Business Profile, any customer or Google user can upload photos from their experience, right? And so the more that you are uploading your own photos and videos, the better chance that those are going to show up in the previews, that they're going to show up at the top of your photo albums versus letting a customer's picture or video dictate the vibe.
Right.
Customers don't have, the same perspective that you do. They might be taking a picture of your bathroom and sharing that in a review when you want to talk about your latest seasonal menu, or you might want to show a tour of your restaurant, or you might want to highlight one of your employees. So we want to constantly be refreshing the profile that way. And actually photos are another conversion factor. Google itself has stated they're pretty hush-hush about, how their algorithm works and everything behind the scenes, but there are statistics out there coming from Google itself that profiles that have more photos will gain more requests for directions, website clicks, and that's truly what you want, right? Like when it comes to local restaurants, that is demonstrating a high purchase intent.
Yeah.
So the more visual you can get with things, the better. And then the other thing I'd say too is just making sure you're responding to all the reviews that come in as they come in, and not waiting to do it, once a year or once every couple of weeks.
Yep. So I'm curious. So we've got reviews and we've got photos that we're getting submitted from people. Do you recommend that owners repurpose those and maybe share those on their page and say, thank you for coming in, thank you for leaving the review? What are best practices there?
Yeah, you can absolutely repurpose reviews across different channels. There are plugins that I know some restaurant operators will use for their website. So it connects to, say, their Yelp reviews or their Google reviews. So it kind of automatically pulls them in there. And then there's also just the straight up, screenshot, sharing it on social media. Hey, thanks, John, for giving us a 5-star review. Can't wait to serve you again. Just bringing awareness to give yourself that trust and credibility through your customer's point of view. And then, you could repurpose that across email as well. We shouldn't be relying on social media to sell our food, as fun as social media can be. And so, you always want to think about, how can I repurpose content, especially if it's user-generated content that you don't even have to think of, that your own customers are submitting on your behalf.
Yep. Love it. I have an important question. What's your favorite type of donut or pastry?
Ooh, okay. So main categories I think people think of are yeast versus cake donut.
Okay.
Between those two, I'm yeast. But then going down the rabbit hole even further, I would say I'm a croissant donut kind of gal.
Croissant
That's like
donut?
a hybrid.
I've not heard of a croissant. Is that different than just a croissant?
Oh, absolutely. So Dominique Ansel is a famous bakery in New York City. They actually trademarked the term cronut. And so I said croissant donut because I don't want them coming after me. But a lot of bakeries will put a version of that on their menu. And it's just butter, like tons of butter and like layers. And so it's delicious if it's done right. But it takes at least 2 to 3 days for the process to really complete itself. So
I may have to check that out. I've never heard of that before. A cronut.
Yes.
Cronut. Okay, very good. Rory, this has been awesome. How can people find you online?
Great question. So if you head to my website, donutdigest.com, I've got tons of free resources. Lots of my examples are geared towards bakery owners and donut shop owners, but they really apply to all local restaurant operators. So donutdigest.com/blog, tons of free articles and resources there. I'm also active on Instagram and TikTok. And then you can always reach me by email at info@donutdigest.com.
Rory, this has been awesome. I appreciate you so much. We'll talk to you soon.